so let's be clear here. Both Canon and Nikon have traditionally been excellent camera brands for filmography and photography, respectively. But as of late, we're getting this problem, particularly with Canon as it seems, with stagnation. Canon has been stagnating. And don't get me wrong, I love Canon. In fact, my own camera that I use for vlogging is a Canon camera. But right now, this is what really disappoints me, is that they're not improving at the rate that we're seeing with Nikon and with newcomer, at least new insurgents comer, Sony. And that is not good. And I have been hoping that with the raised competition that Nikon and Sony have been expressing, that Canon would suddenly shake up its boots and decide to finally get going with improving some core features that I would appreciate, and I'm sure many others would do too. Now I'm not just going to pick on Canon, because this has also been seen a bit more with Nikon as well, until the recent announcement, that is the D850, which I'm really pleased to hear about actually. It's going to have full frame. What else feature is everyone complaining about at the moment? The full black is 4K video recording. It's something that appeals to me because I do videos and I want the best kind of quality that YouTube can support, and YouTube can do up to 8K, so keep it going, guys. Anyway, now here's where I have beef with Canon, is that when I upgraded, and I've had a Canon camera, I've been using Canon now since the 60D, and that's going back 5 years for me anyway, from where I purchased it. And I had the 70D, that was a great improvement when it came to autofocus, and then the 80D, they just made the frame rates higher, and that was great. I didn't mind that, that was good, I like that. I will film normally in 60 frames per second in full HD. But I was disappointed that they did not, and I repeat, did not have 4K. And by this point, I started getting more into photography. So I've been considering upgrading to a full frame camera, but I cannot forego the swivel screen, which can also be my worst enemy, because sometimes I have a tendency to just stare at me to always make sure that I remain in frame. I can have a bit of a rocking sort of thing going on with me in the studio. And because of that, I had considered actually going for a full frame camera. Right now mine is just a crop, it's 1.6 crop APS-C for anyone in the know. And that is with the Canon. Now, they brought out the 5D Mark IV in 2016, shortly after the 80D I think was announced, and it didn't have 4K. So that, well, it did have 4K actually, but not the swivel, without the swivel screen. Now they brought out a full frame camera, the 60 Mark IV, which was highly anticipated. This is meant to be a sort of future-proof camera, but no fucking 4K. I mean, Canon, what are you playing at? No 4K. Not even like a measly 15 frame per second 4K crop thing just to tease us with. So they do that, and as forget me, I mean, and they actually made the screen swivel, so it could have been so good. And now I'm at a stage where I have all these Canon lenses, and I feel like Canon is just trying to hold me hostage to all the investment I had in their lenses. But I'm telling you, if you don't get your act together quickly, I'll just flog them on eBay and convert to either Nikon or maybe Sony. I'm less keen on going for Sony. I still like the DSLR, or at least the sort of form factor of a DSLR. That brings me on to point number 2, but I'll first commend Nikon on their upgrade of the Nikon D850, which I'm actually pleased with to see. They've got 4K in there. That's the core thing you want to get in there. Now, it might only be 60 frames per second, don't worry. I can live with 4K at 30 frames per second. That extra resolution is just so juicy you can't say no. And I think that's an approach that Canon should have taken, actually. And I think that they are going to be punished in the market for this, and I've sort of been seeing on forums that already people are selling all their Canon gear and converting to either one or the other. Some are waiting out for this new release by Nikon, which I'm currently contemplating. I'm thinking now about actually selling all the Canon stuff and just going for the Nikon D850. That's where I'm at the moment. But what I will do actually, because I don't want to just pick on Canon, even though Canon is one to be picked on at the moment, but we also have Nikon. Now, although I am happy that they throw 4K in there, Nikon, I do want to give some advice to Nikon from my own personal opinion. Now, so Nikon, right now you've released this Nikon camera, this one with 4K, and yeah, it's got some great specs in there. It goes all the way up to 45 megapixels, you know, good for cropping and zooming in, and I'm sure one day when we have 8K displays, we'll like the fact that we can watch them in their full 33 megapixel resolution, or be what it may be. You really want to take a leaf out of Sony's book when it comes to the mirrorless technology, and not just for the way they market it. Now, I think one of the obvious differences when it comes to going for a mirrorless camera is the form factor typically displayed in the cameras that use it, that Sony has been producing, which are, they market as being compact, thin. Now, I've had the opportunity to actually have a go at handling those cameras in store of the Sony variety. And I must say, I'm not in full favour of them. I don't think it works for me quite ergonomically, and I think those who have been adjusted to the traditional DSLR cameras are of the same opinion actually. I think they like the more thick, bricky, bulky sort of feel of robustity, and more ergonomically actually, of being able to stretch their fingers around rather than having to feel like they're holding delicately at the tips of their fingers like I have to do with the Sony camera. And I don't actually mind it being heavier. I don't. I think in fact if it wasn't heavier, I wouldn't have such good strong biceps. It gives me the fun workout actually, getting to carry a rather weighty camera. And you know, I know there may be people going into retirement with a hobby of photography who I would encourage as well to stick to a heavy camera. If you want to avoid that muscle atrophy where you don't want your muscles deteriorating, you want to give them the best chance of preservation, then keep to a heavier camera. Don't take the easy route out. That would be my advice there. Now, going back to Nikon. So, I think there are particular features more than for that matter of the compactness that you get. I think you should forget about going for mirrorless because you get more compact. In fact, I think it would be a mistake for Nikon to produce a mirrorless camera and try and adopt the form factor that Sony has gone with by trying to make it more compact. I think what they actually need to do is keep the form factor like their traditional DSLRs, big and bulky and rather nice meal-like sized. And they want to implement the technology that you get with having a mirrorless camera. You know, you have silent shooting, you have the ability to have a sensor that has more room for putting in technology that will stabilise that sensor. Now, Sony has marketed this in their 5-axis image stabilisation for not only horizontal or vertical sort of shaking, but also rotationally, which I think is a really good idea. And I think Nikon wants to do that as well, and it wants to have that cooperate with the technology in the lens to give that same combination of stabilisation. I think if they do that, they'll have a real winner. And we also have to remember that with the mirrorless technology, you want to also have a really good viewfinder. People who have used optical viewfinders have really adjusted to an eye-like view of what they see, so it has to be able to emulate that to an indiscernible degree of one's eye. If they can manage that and have it non-lag, have it go really smoothly with their own flow, then again, a real winner that they can have there. And this would also apply to Canon as soon as they catch up. Okay, so, and another point, obviously with the mirrorless technology, how do you remember the word? Mirrorless technology, you're able to get much higher frame per second actual shooting. And this is also good for the longevity of a camera. Remember, with the mechanical mirror flipping going on, you have a camera that as a mechanical piece that in the end can actually falter. Without that mechanism, which you don't get in the mirrorless camera, you'll have a camera that could potentially take, it's like a diesel to a petrol car. It can go much further with the mileage. And I think the final point I'd say is with this mirrorless technology, you have an electronic viewfinder which can not only display more but can also take up on a lot more focus points on a more dispersed display, and I think that is also a good point that I want to focus on. Of course, it would have been great if Nikon's camera had a dual pixel technology in it. That would sort of be the go for me, but alas, it doesn't. Either way, I am considering going for Nikon. So after having Canon for so long, it may just be time to say rest in peace, Canon. If you just die like this, and it's a shame because they can do better. Anyway, so that's my video for now. I hope you've liked my bit of advice and insight. I've been Jason Kelly. If you enjoyed my video, please like, share and subscribe. You can comment for suggestions, and you can support me on Patreon if you really do like it. And apologies for this light, it's got flickering because I was stupid, bought a dimmer switch for fluorescent light, forgot the photoelectric effect. Until then, I do hope you enjoyed. Okay, see you.